Hello and welcome to COVID-19 Local Impact on Your TV. I'm Dan Malta from the Your TV studios in Peterborough. It's our Feel Good Friday edition of the show where we won't be bringing you any of the COVID-19 statistics from the area. We won't be bringing you any of the messages from local politicians. We'll give you some of the feel-good stories from the week that was. Now, starting off, adjustments have been made by everyone at home, and we've had to change the way we produce television here at Your TV. Currently operating out of the studio on Goodfellow Road are myself, another producer named John Costello, and our manager, David Feely, currently working from home, but providing segments for the COVID-19 Local Impact Show, our producers Mark Rockburn, Marcus Ferguson, and Mary Tendeshat. We speak with Mary about the new world of television production.
At the beginning of the pandemic, when I started working from home, I wasn't producing my normal shows, Politically Speaking, Peterborough Matters, Queen's Park Report, the Ottawa Report. We were just doing our local update. So I was just doing interviews through Zoom. I have a background in TV journalism, so that wasn't too difficult. Just recently, we started bringing those shows back. When I'm communicating with a host in the studio, he's wearing an earpiece and I'm speaking to him through a microphone. So he can hear all my direction when it's time to go to break, when we have 5 minutes left in the show, when it's time to wrap it up. Any other direction that I want to give him, he can see, he can hear through his ear. But in the Zoom world, I don't want to be part of the interview. So you can't see me and I can't all of a sudden talk in the middle of the interview. So what I'm having to do now is when I'm not giving direction, I close off my camera and you can see the background behind me. I will go into speaker view when I need to actually speak to the host. I'll open up my camera and then I'll give them the signals like 5, 4, 3, or wrap it up or anything like that. So all the signals are actually having to be done visually. And then I have to close up my camera again and make sure that I don't take the gallery shot, which would show me on air because I'm not part of the show. So that is a big change actually through Zoom. And it took a little bit of figuring out how I was going to logistically be able to effectively direct a show.
Maybe more important than the ability to technically produce the show is ensuring the content is informative for viewers. And Mary is getting information from people in the know.
In this COVID ever-changing world, there's always something to talk about. You can even compare what happened a few days ago to what's happening now. So the content is really rich. And during this pandemic, we all want to be informed. And I feel like the people that I'm talking to, whether it be the mayor, the MP, the MPP, people in our community really have a lot of information to share. So I think the information for the viewer is very rich during this pandemic and very informative.
With all that being said, the convenience of Zoom is nice, but there's something missing from Your TV productions.
During National Volunteer Week, when we were actually able to touch base with our volunteers and find out what they're doing, it really made me miss them even more, just because we have that team environment when we're in the studio together. And when it's just like we're a mini family. And right now, I don't have that family. I'm all by myself. And it'd be nice if the volunteers were able to be back in the studio with us, you know, doing camera, doing lights, doing audio, directing the show. It's just more of a family atmosphere rather than doing everything by yourself.
And we'll continue to provide as much local coverage as we can going forward on Your TV. In all likelihood, the Peterborough Challenger Special Needs Baseball team won't have a season this year. The Jays Care Foundation has stepped up to help the morale of the team. Challenger Baseball Media Liaison Graham Elliott comments on what this means to the organization.
Really builds that morale up and keeps Challenger top of mind for a lot of the players, the families as well. And you know what, sometimes being a parent of a child with special needs sometimes can be a difficult task, not only financially, but emotionally as well. And GS Care Foundation, as they've always done, has certainly stepped up to the plate in a big way this time around. And basically a care package for the most part for a lot of the families involved in Challenger Baseball. And these things range from gift cards for grocery stores to pick up groceries. Other ways as well as there's a gift card to buy a book. And also some toys and stuff like that, stimulation toys for a lot of these athletes as well, to help them along in their process too. So what you do is you go through a series of different questions. They'll ask you, for example, for a gift card for a book from Indigo, and they'll say, okay, so how would this book utilized or be well utilized by your athlete. And then you can basically describe whether you have a young child that maybe learning how to read or can maybe utilize a book in a certain way. Maybe they just love books. Maybe they're a big reader and they've read all their books for the last month and a half, so they can get a brand new book. And this will help cover off some of the costs from doing that. Groceries, we all know that grocery costs are certainly going up and have certainly been a lot more necessary over the last month and a half with a lot of people staying at home. Their kids maybe eating a lot more at home than maybe they normally would on a Monday to Friday schedule. So again, this can go along for all those families that deal with financial issues, but also of course the adaptive equipment kit program. Again, it's about how your child, how your athlete could utilize this kit. And there's everything from squeeze toys in there, a squeeze baseball, little things in there in order to be able to help deal with a number of different things. For example, if your athlete deals with fine motor skill issues, things that we take for granted every single day, which includes, being able to, tie our shoelaces or be able to throw a ball or hold a ball. These are all things that they can do while they can't be outside playing the sport, but they can still do at home in a safe manner with a lot of these toys to be able to learn how to be able to throw a ball properly. And that's one of the biggest things that we sometimes forget about with a lot of these athletes is those little things that we do every single day struggle with. Tying their shoelaces and being able to handle small things. Doing up their button on their pants sometimes can be a difficult task. So a lot of these accessibility kits that are also part of this package is certainly going to go a long way.
The offseason keeps on going for the Peterborough Petes as their team announced another 2 signings from the 2020 draft class. Both second-round selections, Sam Alfano and Justin DeZotti, have agreed to terms with the team.
But in the meantime, I would now like to introduce Justin DeZotti. A lot of similarities, another right winger, a captain of his team, the Hamilton Huskies. Justin comes to us having had a very successful regular season where he recorded 25 goals and 30 assists during the regular season, and much like Sam, led his team in the playoffs where he had 12 goals in 15 games and led his team to the Alliance finals.
Obviously, it's getting drafted by Peterborough was such a great thing, and I was so excited finally hearing my name, and being selected by Peterborough is obviously such a high-class organization. Honestly, couldn't pick a better place to be selected by, and obviously now committing here and signing is just the next step, and obviously I can't wait till hopefully this pandemic clears up, and just can't wait to come to camp and get going here. So can't wait to finally come to Peterborough. Obviously it's such a great hockey city with a great fan base, and obviously can't wait to meet all the players. And obviously, like Sam said, it's a tight-knit group, and I've been with a tight-knit group my whole 7 years, so I just can't wait to meet everyone, meet all the coaches, and get going. Rollerblading every day, shooting pucks. I don't have much gym equipment, but I'm doing like body weight workouts in my basement, and I'm going for runs and mostly rollerblading just to stay active and stay using my hockey muscles. So.
At this time, it does give me a great deal of pleasure to announce that we've received commitments from 2020 OHL priority selection second round draft picks, Sam Alfano. First off, Sam is a right winger, was captain of the Southern Tier Admirals. During the OMHA Championship, he was the leading scorer with 7 goals and 7 assists in 5 games. Sam was selected as the SCTA Player of the Year. He's a big, strong power forward who understands how to use his size in all 3 zones.
Yeah, for sure. Being drafted to the OHL was a dream come true for me, and I found out it was Peterborough. I mean, it was such a historic franchise, and it's something that I'll never forget. And every day I wake up and I just can't wait to get to PNC and get playing with my new teammates and play in front of the great fans of Peterborough. For me, I'm just looking forward to, getting to know my new teammates. From what I've heard for the past couple of years, it was a really tight group in that locker room, and I'm coming from a really tight group in minor hockey, and I think that's what the best teams have, a tight locker room, and I'm just looking forward to meeting my new teammates and getting going with a great new team and great new guys. So NHL, Evgeny Malkin. for sure. And just because, I'm a huge Penguins fan and I watch him all the time. And every time I watch him, you're never not amazed what he can do and how silly he can make the opposition look. And it's impressive and he's fun to watch. And I like to think when I'm at my best, I'm also fun to watch. So I have a little bit of a gym in my garage, so I go there every day, just trying to do as much as possible. And a lot of shooting pucks in my driveway, and I do yoga every day, just trying to stay mobile, not get too tight. And so that's big. Just anything to stay active and try not to be as behind or as rusty when I get back on the ice.
Can't wait to see another Pete season here in Peterborough. The Peterborough Outdoor Market on Aylmer and Simcoe has noticed a decrease in vendors this season, as some are not essential services. Your TV's Mary Tendeshat speaks with Ralph Polak, the owner of Carolina's Columbia Coffee. He's changed the way he runs his business from importing coffee to selling locally.
A large part of our sales were the brewed coffee also, so that's completely gone. We supply a number of cafes and restaurants in town, so all of that is completely shut down. And so all the sales right now are to individual homes, either at the market or pickups, or we can do deliveries, as we offer on our website. For the first 2 or 3 weeks, I think people wondered, how bad is this going to be? Are we going to be completely shut down? So we had 5 and 10 pound bags of coffee we were rolling out. And I know some of the roasters I supply were in the same boat. They're going, hey, get us more coffee. It's going like toilet paper.
Polak says about 2/3 of his business has been affected by the coronavirus pandemic.
Another large part of our business is the unroasted coffee. You can see we had to get to scale to bring coffee from Colombia. You have to work at a shipping container level. And so we have a number of roasters that buy unroasted coffee throughout Ontario. And it's interesting the impact on them.
Polak says his largest customer supplies restaurants and cafes, and they are down to 20%.
Our second biggest customer provides grocery stores with their coffee, and their sales have actually increased. Like, we really have a yearly cycle because the harvest in our region is once a year, and coffee when it comes unroasted, it's a lot like rice, so it's fairly inert. Nobody's really worried about the freshness of it at the end of 1 year. My second container this year is in Colombia right now, ready to come, and we're exploring manners to delay it a little bit longer. And part of that was needed because Colombia completely shut down their businesses for a while.
He says he is not concerned about his coffee transporting the virus from Colombia.
So something that goes in a shipping container and goes across the Atlantic for 10 days and then on rail from Halifax into Peterborough, and then it's in these plastic bags inside jute bags. I'm not too concerned about a virus being on anything on the coffee.
Polak says this is not the first time his coffee shipment has been delayed recently.
The one container was coming up in the boat, and Atlantic had a hurricane, and we got diverted back to Jamaica. So we were really running out of coffee, and so that put a wrinkle in things. And the first container that came this year, there was the native blockade, and so our container was sitting in Quebec for a month waiting to get through that.
Polak has been able to continue developing new blends during the pandemic using his lab roaster.
Let's see how it comes out. That's always the beautiful part, when all this effort and work and finally, boom, these brown, lovely smelling coffee beans fall into the tray. It looks really nice.
It does look nice.
Vinnys Thrift Shop relies on sales to generate revenue for the St. Vincent de Paul Food Pantry, and on Monday, Vinnys began accepting donations of clothing and household items to ensure there's stock when the store is able to reopen.
We closed all 3 store locations in March when everybody else shut down. And just recently we have had a huge demand of people calling, wanting to drop off their donations. Everybody's been home and cleaning out their closets and cupboards, and they want to move this stuff out of their house. So we kind of went with a protocol of only one person touching the donations. And it was volunteers who stepped up and said, let's just take donations. So starting this week, we are taking donations at Vinnys on Erskine. All donations will be quarantined. They'll be quarantined probably for a week before we get to them. That way we are safe and our employees are safe. And Lakefield will be accepting donations this Saturday from 12 till 3. So noon to 3 in Lakefield. And the reason for doing this is we need to be ready to go when this is all over and we can open up the stores. So we do have donations to put on the shelves. Again, like those donations are what feeds the food bank, which is up and running still. We have not closed our food bank at all. And so we are down there at the food bank serving our community. So we need those donations. Government funding, they have been very good. Food Banks Canada has been helping us. Kawartha Food Share has been great with supplying us. So we just keep opening the door, and we're spending some of the money that we had saved up for a rainy day. And this is the rainy day. So that's deplenishing quickly. What we've kind of figured out is we'll take one car at a time. The people will unload onto our truck. And once our truck is full, we will move it and quarantine that whole area for a week. The demand has been huge since we closed. So we're hoping 3 will be enough. If not, we have people who want to step up and do something. So if we have to put them into the mix, we will.
Vinnys will be accepting donations Monday to Friday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. In these times, finding something to celebrate can be difficult. Tuesday was Cinco de Mayo. We speak with Martin Carnbahal from La Mesita Restaurante in downtown Peterborough about the significance of the holiday and how people were trying to celebrate locally.
I came to Canada in 2014. I realized that there was no Mexican food in the Peterborough area at all. So after a while, I had a stall at the farmers market, and it got to be really popular. I was the only one doing any kind of Latino food in all the market. And people were always asking, where's your spot? Where's your spot? So whenever we had a chance, we opened it here. We are located at 229 Haunted Street West in downtown Peterborough. And in this location, we have been open for 2 years. We're serving Mexican food in the area. We have been doing it for 10. Well, the thing is, when the States took that space of Mexico, many Mexicans were left behind the border. They didn't cross the border crossed them. And they didn't have too many things to celebrate their Mexican heritage. So they keep very strongly believing on Cinco de Mayo. So that's why they celebrate it, because that's the way to keep in touch with their roots. It's like a St. Patrick's. Everybody wants to have a good excuse to have a good time, and I'm okay with that. And a lot of people has been calling to pre-order and to have some Mexican food, which I'm very grateful. And that's also a good excuse for them to try real Mexican food, no Tex-Mex. And hopefully that will attract more customers eventually, right?
As COVID-19 local impact continues on your TV, we'll bring you some feel-good stories from Northumberland. Welcome back to COVID-19 Local Impact on your TV. The Northumberland Hills Hospital Foundation wrapped up their fiscal year on March 31st. Foundation Executive Director Rhonda Cunningham tells your TV's Mark Rockburn it was another banner year for the organization.
At March 31st, we had raised $3.4 million. And during that fiscal year, we had celebrated some of our most successful events to date. Our Caring for Generations Society had an extraordinary year, raising $165,000. Our gala was a record-breaking year, raising $570,000. Our Light Up a Life campaign was the most successful campaign on record, raising over $200,000. So, you know, it was a banner year for us, and we raised a lot of money in our community.
In these tough economic times, Rhonda, over the last year, we'll continue on with the last year forecast. What was the success of Northumberland Hills Hospital? Because I know there's lots of organizations out there looking for money. So why is the hospital continually be so successful?
I think the community has a lot of trust in the hospital itself, And they also see the benefit of investing in medical equipment that they will themselves benefit from having access to. For instance, the foundation in the past, we fundraised for things like an MRI, CT scanner, ultrasound units, mammography units. People really value high quality healthcare, and I think that they're willing to contribute towards being able to have access to those services. So I think the other point I'd like to make is that as an organization, we're heading into our 17th year, and there's a lot of people that live in our county who still remember, contributing to the fund to build the hospital and watching the building rise up out of the ground. And there's a lot of pride in our residents. They feel like they built our hospital and they want to see us continue to be successful, and they nurture us. So that fact is not lost on us. We feel very privileged to hold that high level of trust with our community, and we never ever take a donor's support for granted.
I am sure not many things surprises you in this community, but what have you learned during this pandemic currently, not only in your role as the foundation CEO president, but just in general about this community?
So maybe two lessons learned. The first is the power of being flexible and really understanding that, we're all in these changing times together, and to approach it with a thought and an attitude of being creative, as Natasha says, as opposed to the world is ending and, not being flexible. So being flexible is really important. The other thing that I guess I've always known is that this community truly does care, and people care. And if anything, I would say COVID-19 has brought out the best in most people. We're seeing small acts of kindness from children right straight through to seniors. Everybody wants to help, and their biggest challenge sometimes is trying to figure out how to help effectively. And that has just made my heart soar, because it's reinforcing that people really are good and want to help, and it's so nice to be able to see that.
On Monday, Premier Doug Ford announced communities are able to allow groups to start working in community gardens. The town of Cobourg acted quickly, and earlier this week it was announced the Cobourg Community Garden in James Tracy Park is officially open.
Premier Ford decided with negotiations with the public health medical officer to give us the opportunity to open up community gardens in Ontario. I know we have the Tracy Park, I call them community gardeners, who were chomping at the bit to get going. The really good news, we did the photo op the other day, is that all their beds, and they've expanded within the past year, have all been spoken for. So the good news, it will give those who love to garden an opportunity to get a mental release. It also gives them an opportunity to produce food of high quality. And I know they also share that with different groups, including the food bank, through the year. So my answer is it's a win-win situation for everybody within the town of Cobourg. And my hope is on council, I can encourage other councillors to consider perhaps other plots of land for more community gardens, because I think that's the direction we're going. I've spoken to so many people independently who are starting to create their own independent beds in their own backyards.
So John, obviously there's going to have to be restrictions put in place. What are they that they must follow?
Oh, well, the list is quite extensive. One thing I give Premier Ford, he's done the balance. He's allowed you to open the community gardens, but at the same time really enact very strict guidelines for the gardens. They're quite extensive. More importantly, I'm pleased that the Halliburton Kawartha Pine Ridge District Health Unit reviewed guidelines in alignment with the province, in alignment with Durham Region, and created their own. And I've shared those with the Tracy Community Gardens. And if you go up, you'll see they already have signs posted. For example, like Again, social distancing, use your own tools, careful how you use your water source, sign in, sign out. You have to be a registered member for the plot to be there. So if you pull it up, there are a significant number of thou shalt do, and rightfully so. And I want to give credit to Tracy Park because we opened that yesterday. And in my opinion, they're already implementing all those recommended changes. But if you pull it up, I can send it to you if you don't have it, but it's quite extensive.
So I guess, John, how's this going to be monitored? Is it going to be self-regulated by the group itself, or is the town involved in monitoring this? Because I know that they do have to follow social distancing rules. There can only be 5 people there at one time, other rules and such like that.
Yeah, I spoke to the key gardener groups who organize that, and they understand the limitations, and they're very good about keeping that within their members and do self-monitoring, because the last thing they want is a call to come into the town, or then I make a call to the public health unit, and then they're shut down, because that would be the last thing they would want to happen. So I can assure you from the members I know, they're very, I hate to use the word religious, but they're very religious about following the mandates they've been given, and they understand the latitude. So I don't really expect any problems from that particular group.
You know someone who has gone above and beyond to help others during the pandemic? Tell us their story in the comments section below the post on our Facebook page for a chance to win them dinner on us from a local restaurant. Don't forget to share the post to celebrate the heroes in our community. 5 winners will be drawn each Monday through June 1st with a prize value of $100. That's the show for the week. We'll see you again on Monday. For Your TV, I'm Dan Malta.